Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dan Warner. We are here today doing another segment in an ongoing series I call Set Savvy. It is explaining the nomenclature or the terms on a film and television set. Today we're going to be talking about a few different terms. One of them is very, very common. It's called mark or on your mark. And what your mark is it's an actual mark on the floor where you start your scene. So once they do the blocking, and we'll get into that term later, but once they do the blocking and they set up all the choreography and all that, you're going to have a mark, or you're going to have a place where you start your scene, and it's called your mark. And what they will do is they will actually mark, and I'll show you this in a second, they'll actually mark on the floor with a piece of tape or a piece of chalk. Sometimes they use a little mini sandbag. It's really tiny. It's about that big, but it's a little sandbag there. And so those, depending on what the surface is, if you're on the grass, they can't obviously tape on the grass, and so they'll use the little sandbag. If they're somewhere where it's easy enough to use a little piece of chalk, they'll do that. They're going to mark your spot as long as they don't see your feet. Now, if they see your feet, then they'll use something else, like a twig if you're outside, maybe a twig, and that'll be your mark. But your mark, or being on your mark, means being at the exact spot where the scene will start. Here's an example of how on your mark or your mark works. Okay, great. Mark that. Sound speeding, and action.
Hi, is Dan here?
Yeah, come on in. Great. Cut, back to one. And action.
Hi, is Dan here?
Yeah, sure, come on in. Great. Cut, back to one. Okay, go ahead and relax. We're going to strike this light over here. Okay, that's good. I like that. Okay, back to your mark, please. Great. Okay, so you saw there in that example, they used a piece of tape, right? So they just tape in between your feet, and that's your mark. Now, if you're relaxing, we're going to talk about the second term. If you're relaxing somewhere and they want you to go back to your mark, they'll say, get on your mark, or they'll say, back to one. Now, back to one means you go back to your mark, or back to wherever your scene is going to start. And so your mark and back to one are usually the same thing. Now, there are times where you will be on your mark, and then they will have you do what they call a walk and talk, where you walk and talk and you land on a second spot. That will be your second mark. And so they will mark that as well. And so you'll have your first mark and your second mark. So they'll say back to one, you'll go back to your first mark. And action, you will do your scene, you will walk, you will talk, and you will go to your second mark where you land and finish your scene. So mark number one, mark number two, sometimes they'll say back to one. Sometimes they'll say, and this is another term I'll explain later, we're going to do a pickup, so go to your number two. If they say go to your number two, you go to your second mark. That's where the other piece of tape is. That's where you walked from your first mark to your second mark. If they say go back to your number two, you'll go to your second mark. If they say go back to your number one or back to one, you go to your first mark. And your mark will be piece of tape, chalk, little sandbag, twig, small pebble, if they're doing a real wide scene and they don't want to see a mark on the ground. So that is mark or on your mark. If you have questions about that, or if that was too confusing, please ask them in the comment section below, and I will be happy to try to answer any questions you have about your mark or being on your mark. Okay, so we've covered mark or on your mark. We've also covered back to one. Now we're going to cover another piece of nomenclature, another term that's used on the set, and that's called from the top. And that is, it really marries into what we're talking about now. From the top means you're going to perform your scene from the top, from the very beginning. And so if they say back to one, okay, we're going from the top, you start your scene from the very beginning and you do it all the way through, or until they yell or say cut. Hopefully they don't yell. Sometimes they do. So from the top means starting from the top. There will be times where they will start the scene in the middle because they've already covered that particular section and they don't need to do it again. And maybe they're covering another actor and they've got coverage going here and there. And so they just need you to start from the middle. And so the director and or the AD, which will cover that term here next time, will tell you, okay, we're going to start from wherever, and they'll tell you where to start from. But if they say from the top, that means you go back to one on your mark and start your scene from the top. So those are the three terms we're covering today. On your mark, get on your mark, stay on your mark, go to your mark, back to one, and from the top. I hope these terms were helpful. We are going to get more technical as time goes on, but this is another edition of Set Savvy, and we will be doing one of these every week or every other week until we get through the 500 terms that you need to know and that you will feel comfortable with when you're on the set, and hopefully this will make you a little more set savvy on the set. My name is Dan Warner. Thanks for coming. If you liked this video, please hit the like button down there. If you have not subscribed yet to my channel, go ahead. If I dare you, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be coming every week with tidbits and tips and tutorials and all kinds of really cool stuff that maybe you know, maybe you don't know, and it could help you book a job in 2021. So that's it for this episode of Set Savvy. If you have questions or comments, please drop them below. If you have questions about nomenclature on the set or something that has tripped you up that you want me to expound on, I'll be happy to do that. And maybe I'll do it in the next episode and give you a little shout out as well. Okay, until next time, goodbye from Set Savvy, the set of Set Savvy. Is that right? The set of Set Savvy? That's kind of catchy. The set of Set Savvy. I need somebody to do a voiceover. Set Savvy. Now that's kind of